It was the catalyst. I realized, like, wait a second. This is now the time to put this issue of water back on the forefront.
We're going to, once again, introduce the wonderful Terry Hicks.
Members of the young people who lead us in food justice are not present. So it's nice to be led by young folk. So give Roger and Anthony and the whole Detroit.
We're giving y'all a
I'm doing what Roger and Anthony and the youth told me to do, which was to speak on environmental justice, food justice, and water justice. Right now in Detroit, we got a water movement happening that's for water access, water affordability, conservation, water being held in the commons, and water being held free of pollution. So as you know, here in Detroit, we got several thousand houses with no running water. That's a human rights abuse. We expect you should be able to wash clothes, brush your teeth, cook, and have some sanitation in your home because water is life.
Yeah.
In 2009 June, the United Nations declared access to water and access to sanitation part of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So water is just as important as food sovereignty in our community. We can't talk food without water. And so water becomes the basis for how we sit in our houses and on our blocks and in our neighborhoods. The real reason why water is important to food is because the most #1 use of water is agriculture. Agriculture is the #1 use of water in the world. So how we hold water in the commons, how we protect water, how we have access to water is a justice issue. The same thing with food. Food becomes our fuel, but it also becomes how we hold our environment. A lot of our food comes from monocropping. And monocrops is where you see thousands and thousands of acres in one crop. That's not normally how we hold land. So there's a burgeoning permaculture, heirloom culture, root culture movement happening where we're restoring ecology, restoring biodiversity. So on some farms, when you step on it, you're like, wow, what is this? It looks like the Garden of Eden up in here. It's like everywhere you look, something is growing. That is deep wisdom. Repeat after me, say deep wisdom.
Deep wisdom.
We have not been on this planet without deep wisdom. Our mothers, what we call common sense, that's deep wisdom. What we think that we ought to know because it's just right to know, that's deep wisdom. That comes from the indigenous community. Because we got to return to that or we're going to destroy our ecology. We already get fields overburdened with nitrogen overload and amendments. We get super weeds, we get GMOs, we get corn with fish genes and fish with human genes. We get so much stuff happening in our food system that we have to return to deep wisdom or we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Why this song and what does it mean? A few years back, there was some tremendous efforts for the People's Water Board, both in the city of Detroit and also the city of Highland Park, Michigan, when it was realized that we were facing in Detroit 40 to 50,000 people were getting their water shutoffs in their home. This was resulting in not only personal hardships, in some cases you had Child Protective Services taking children out of the home. In some certain cases you had just a lot of trouble and hardship, and this did not have to be. The People's Water Board, they've worked very hard. They've not only advocated against shutoffs, but they've actually came up with an alternative business model called the Water Affordability Plan. And this model was put forth and passed by City Council, and correct me if I'm wrong.
2006.
the mayor took the money that was allotted to implement this plan and used it for other purposes. So you had a plan that was to stop shutoffs, a feasible, we're not just advocating just out of the goodness of our heart. This was an actual business model that would show how can the money be pooled together in such a way to stop the shutoffs and ensure that everybody could have water. And the mayor chose to not implement it, but use that money for other purposes. And that was in the back of my mind as I started getting into the studio. This issue of water stayed in my heart. My man, Sean Donatella, I met at an open mic earlier this year. He was spitting some knowledge which had to do with health, and it was the catalyst. I realized, like, wait a second. This brother is spitting. This is now the time to put this issue of water back on the forefront. I knew my man Anthony right here. He was laying in the cut, but I knew that he would come out when called.
Cut.
And so we talked about it, talked it over, and you'll see that each one of us is going to bring our own style and bring our own emphasis to it. And the other thing that I just wanted to add is we always try to kick this global perspective. This issue of water is big. I've heard stories and read about certain places that are more rural places in which people have the tradition of going down to a local river and getting the water there. But one day they go down to the river and it's a big fence. This water is owned by Coca-Cola or Ice Mountain or Aquafina, and there's people with guns saying, you know, this is now our water. We're gonna sell it and put it in these bottles. And this is coming to Michigan with the Ice Water Mountain Company, which is on the Great Lakes. So we're not just talking theoretically. They may not have the guns yet in Michigan, but they are taking the water from the Lakes Michigans already. And so this is a very important local issue. And we speak in the language of hip hop. If somebody else speaks the language of folk, do it that way. Somebody else do it in rock and roll. Somebody else do it in salsa. We'll each do it. You know, we need all the different languages out here. But we're gonna kick it in the way that we speak it tonight. And we have CDs if you want to take it home. And if you download it from the website, they have a thing called Name Your Own Price, where you can pay $1, but if you want to give more and have that go to the People's Water Board, $2, $3, $4, we need to support our community institutions. You can do it directly from the Bandcamp website. So we'll tell all that for you too. I think that that's a good introduction. MC, are we ready for the beat?
Beat on deck.
Yeah.
Water power swallowing, water bottles don't bother with it. Politicians, politics flowing like it's bottomless. Started it and finished it, water needed to swim in it. Be careful, homie, you're spilling it.
Be careful, homie, you're spilling it.
Get 'em.
I just needed a swig of that liquid. I couldn't get it, they swimming in what I'm missing. I'm living without a dripping. I'm speaking for you to listen. And Whitney's ceases and dissing. I'm faced without making haste to put bacon on kitchen table. But they're breaking water currents, so breaking the laws occurs. When I'm shaking that thoughts of curbing, while dreaming, families observing the struggle that keeps us hurting and hungry, but we're serving real dinners, we eat preservatives. I wonder what keeps me working in this fucked up society where corporations denying me access to a life in these streets. And where they lie to me, I hope I hit the lottery next week. Wait, fuck that, it's just
Back to reality.
Get down, this is a robbery.
I got it. Everybody put your hands up. Water power swallowing, water power, don't bother with it.
Politicians, politics, no
Flowing like it's bottomless. Started it and finished it. Water needed to swim in it.
More valuable than oil. Be careful, homie, you spilling it. Water power swallowing, water power, don't bother with it. Flowing like it's bottomless. Started it and finished it. Water needed to swim in it. More valuable than oil. Be careful, homie, you spilling it.
My water just got deactivated, my body gets over caffeinated. Graduated from sugar high without sugar.
I'm aggravated.
Eating all this glucose and sucrose, high fructose. Overdosing on caffeine like a crack fiend. It's a new dope. I don't do coke, but it's Pepsi. Coca-Cola,
Feel a peppy.
my donuts I eat them with jelly. Sugar puffs inside of my belly. Got the corn starch and the corn syrup with the corn flake. I'm a corn jerk. Drinking Kool-Aid and a cool shirt. Eating candy, now my tooth hurt. I'm blood sugar was happening. Defying gravity. And gradually my teeth is being taken over by cavities. Reality, my diet is sugar power, sugar vitality. Harassing me, sugar so high it's crashing me. Tragically, casually, feeling pathetic, my sugar is diabetic. I'm the first one in my family, can't blame it on my genetics. Ain't drinking no water, forget it. And candy and cookies, I live it. No fruits, no vegetables, so yo, I'm never gonna eat no spinach. Give me hamburgers, french fries, milkshakes, apple pie. Sugar was making me hypnotized, making me think I could touch the sky. Give me more salt, more fat, more cheese, double that. Bucket of chicken, a Kit Kat, a Diet Coke, and a Big Mac.
Water bottles, don't bother with it.
Politics, flowing like it's bottomless.
Started it in Vegas, and water needed to swim in it.
More valuable than oil. Be careful, homie, you spilling it. Look behind my eyes, who know what's trouble brewing? I took an L at home, I'm trying to get a W in my work position. I'm the nip that's behind the wheel. They cut my water off this morning, I'm trying to tell. My clientele was inexact, who buy and sell. The water popping juice, you drink it with your breakfast meal. I was high as hell, so I had to check my ears around my way. H2O's a life and death for a deal.
Go at him again, Will. Do it to him.
We got our guns on a river in India. We had to shoot some Indians in South America. We almost got right on a lake in America. A town of poor niggas in a state called Michigan. We got 30 cities across the Midwest. They need money to invest, double the interest. Shut it down is trouble and distress. The media pictures, see what black government gets us. The water rates are rise, stakes are high. We eliminate supply.
Any tugs this time.
I was bugging, these motherfuckers talking and shutting down on taps and faucets just to grab that profit. Should I snap like I lost it? Maybe I should crash the boss with. Put these cats on blast, we can plan and stop this. Stop this. Water pumps swallowing water bottles, don't bother with it.
Politicians, politics, flowing like it's bottomless.
Started it in Vegas, and water needed to swim in it.
More valuable than oil, be careful homie, you're spilling it. Water power swallowing water bottles, don't bother with it.
Flowing like it's politics, flowing like it's bottomless.
Started it in Vegas, and water needed to swim in it.
More valuable than oil, be careful homie, you spilling it.